when you start to really think that way, you start to look around and say, hey, we're all learning this together. We're all in the same boat together. This powerful team that works together in synergy with each other is literally unstoppable. It's the reason why you and I started Capstone to begin with. We knew that those frontline leaders were not getting the time and attention and seen as team like they should have. And when we really created that in our own hospital, it was literally unstoppable. I mean, literally gas, green light, here we go, unstoppable.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage. Welcome to another episode of Culture Change RX. And today my guest is the co-founder of Capstone, Jane McLeod. And this is a very special episode as Jane is not just retiring from Capstone, she's retiring from an amazing career in healthcare as a healthcare leader and executive, and obviously a champion for positive change through Capstone leadership for the last 12 years. And so we just thought it would be fun to get together and use this platform for her to share some amazing, what we call leadership life hacks, some of the life lessons that she's been able to accumulate along this beautiful journey. And she's been sharing these with our partner organizations and others. And so we thought she can't share them all maybe in this short episode, but she's going to pick some favorites, some life hacks to share. So welcome to the podcast, Jane. We're glad you're back and we're sad you're leaving.
The yin and yang.
The yin and yang.
Yes, I'll tell you, when I was reflecting and preparing for today, I was like, I feel so extremely grateful to have owned and worked for a company where we get to meet the most amazing people. And I think you'll agree, Sue, that our partners challenge us just as much as we challenge them.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, when a CEO, I'm preparing for a visit to his organization, challenges me, knowing that, I've got 41 years in healthcare, way more than half of that as both a frontline leader and an executive leader. He said, I want you to train my leaders on the top 10 things that you have learned throughout this journey of your leadership life. And I was like, what? Like Letterman? And he goes, yeah, just like Letterman, the top 10, right? So obviously we can't do all 10 today. But, it really made me think. At first I was like, who wants to hear that, But then I thought, you know what? There are some leadership lessons, tough to learn along the way, that I have learned that everybody needs to know. So thank you, Sue Tetzloff, for asking me to do this.
Well, of course. So let's just start, our mantra, just start. So let's start with the first one that you want to share of your 10 leadership life hacks. Which one's first out of the gate?
First one right out of the gate, our leaders are team. And something that you and I discovered through our journey in the cultural transformation that we made in our own hometown hospital that we didn't really realize until we had started Capstone and we were reflecting. And I don't know if you remember this moment going up the huge escalator in the Detroit airport. And I said, Sue, the best thing about transforming our culture was how close I grew to my peer leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before
Mm-hmm.
they had been people that maybe I was in competition with, I didn't feel they worked as hard as I did, or, whatever, that we, through that process, were really, really able to collaborate and grow as team. And you see it then when I was preparing my teamwork talk for the Healthcare Executive Forum. I learned more on that from Pat Lencioni's book, Five Dysfunctions, where we consider our primary team the team we lead. And actually, the primary team is the team we're on. And
Mm-hmm.
when you start to really think that way, you start to look around and say, hey, we're all learning this together. We're all in the same boat together. This powerful team that works together in synergy with each other is literally unstoppable. It's the reason why you and I started Capstone to begin with.
It
We
is.
knew that those frontline leaders were not getting the time and attention and seen as team like they should have. And when we really created that in our own hospital, it was literally unstoppable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally
Mm-hmm.
gas, green light, here we go, unstoppable. But you
Yeah.
need to, the action steps you have to take, our number one thing is they need to learn together. There needs to
Mm-hmm.
be standard work. But, the third thing is for executives to put a system in place where there's opportunity for teaming. Think about how we worked on lean all those years ago. You guys, I was a frontline leader at the time, literally cut the room in half and said, you're on this team, you're on this team. And I don't care if you don't think you have anything to do with, time to hire in HR, you're on the team. Make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Happy half hour after each leadership training, opportunities for people to see each other as human beings with like interests, even though one's a financial director and one's a nursing director. They have
Mm-hmm.
things in common and they have to collaborate with each other and rely on each other. So leaders, our team is my number one thing.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Totally aligns with our approach to transforming healthcare organizations. This is how we team around here, and uniting, strengthening, synergizing leaders is definitely one of those teams. We don't always think of it
Absolutely.
exactly like that, but yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, that is a great one to lead off with, and I think it does deserve the number one spot. But let's hear the
Absolutely.
others, some others, because I might change my mind.
There you go. The second one is relationships, relationships,
Mm.
relationships.
Actually, I
So
thought you were going to lead with that now that you say that.
I know that's probably the one we most often repeat, isn't it? And
Yeah.
Sue and I both worked for a CEO that we loved very much, David, the good David, and he like pounded that into our heads. It was his
Mhm.
answer for everything. And the title, actually, when I gave this talk on leadership life hacks, the title was Difficult People Just Want to Be Heard. So I'll never forget the day that, a physician came into my office and I wasn't used. I was a brand new nurse executive. You had just promoted me. And what I wasn't used to was making that leap between frontline leader to executive leader, where all of a sudden, instead of having this safe, cozy relationship with my staff and with my physicians that I worked with closely in the ED, now I have everybody. And you find yourself that you're the same as the high school principal, right? All the bad kids get sent to your office. And so that's where all the complaints go too. And so we had one particular disgruntled physician who didn't like our electronic health record and wanted to talk to someone about it every single day. And after about the eighth time hearing the same story in my office, I walked into David's office and I plopped down in one of those chairs and I said, David, I can't take it anymore. He needs to just get over it. Like, I need you to handle this and blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, it sounds like you don't have a very good relationship with this physician. I said, you're right. I don't. I don't even like him.
It's getting
And
worse by the moment.
oh, yeah. He's like, Jane, you got to find a way. What is it?
Mhm.
Find a
Mhm.
way to have a relationship with him. And I love the quote by Abraham Lincoln. Where he says, I don't like that person. I must get to know him better. And
Mhm.
so I had to find a way. I had to find a way to keep the man out of my office, but it wasn't from just being a yes person to him. It was from, okay, what's going to motivate you?
Mhm.
What are you going to do? And you don't have to be friends with everyone, but what is that relationship? And recently, a new executive called me to say, my primary leader, the leader who reports to me, the biggest department in the hospital, the most important department in the hospital, I don't like her. I said, it's
Mm.
not that you don't like her.
Yeah.
It's that you don't know her yet. So don't meet with her in your office. It's the woodshed. Take her to
Yeah.
lunch, right?
Yeah.
See what makes her tick. Have a completely personal conversation with her, So anyway,
Yeah.
relationships.
Relationships. Yeah. Actually, I had to pull that out with a new CEO, first time CEO. And I'm like, I think we got to take a step back and just connect as humans and think about the relationship aspects of this situation versus just the facts and the
Right.
strategies and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just had to pull that one out the other day. Relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
all
key.
right. Look at we already got down 2 out of the 10 list. Number 3.
Well, this is you and me, sister, the bad manager file.
Oh gosh.
So Sue and I started the habit. It was like almost by accident. I'm sure I flopped myself in your office when I was a frontline leader and you were my CNO. But then we did it when we were executives too.
We
When we
did.
just
We kept it
needed to
going.
talk. Yeah, we need to talk about a mistake that we had made. But I would just say to you, I need to put something in my bad manager file. So it may have been my way of saying, I made a mistake and I need to own up to it without actually saying those words because I often deflect with humor, as you are aware. So,
No.
so I would forward you the email to say, hey, put this in my bad manager file. I upset someone today or I made a mistake or whatever it is. But the other half of that is really learning to apologize to your team. And it was either you or I can't remember which one of us, wrote a blog a long time ago called A Leader's Apology.
You did. It was you.
It was me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
You
you.
know, owning up to when you screwed up, that and you can't always make it right. And I remember the first time I had to apologize to my team. I had messed up the schedule, cardinal sin, messing up your team's schedule. Like
Mhm.
you might as well mess up payroll, but don't mess up their schedule. And I had to apologize to them and say, you know what, guys, I really screwed this up. I gave way too many people vacation this week, but I'm going to work right alongside you. We're going to work shoulder to shoulder. We are going to be short, but we're going to do great. And I won't do it again. I promise you that. But I did mess this up. It like totally disarms people. And I think showing that vulnerability as a leader is
Mhm.
so important. It makes you authentic, it makes you a person, and they need that
Well, and it
because
role
it makes
models
them
it,
feel
right?
good.
I mean, I even with my quality and safety hat on and thinking about psychological safety and all of that and wanting
Mhm.
people to own up to, especially things in that area of healthcare. So, yeah, role
Absolutely.
modeling that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you got to start with it. And guess what? How many times have we said that our framework and especially our leader bundle really helps people become better people. It helps you in life as well as leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing. If you can apologize to a team of, 50 RNs that are going to hate you because you messed up their schedule, I mean, think of, your 2-year-old. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, or your teenagers, that's probably a more likely scenario. So,
Exactly.
but owning it with your boss. And, so my leadership life hack is to have a bad manager file for both your boss and your people, but most specifically for you, because you're a better person as a result of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think we learn probably as much from that and grow as much from that as we do celebrating our wins.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Although we got to do that too.
Oh, yes.
We got to do that too. So we have leaders are a team, relationships, 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 and our bad manager file. Those are our 3 good ones. What else you got for us?
Well, the next one is have a way to spend time with your employees or leaders if you're an executive outside of work. So, this is all based on the premise of, Gallup's question, do you have a best friend at work? But more importantly, we ask our people to bring their whole selves to work, to come as their best self every single day. It's imperative for our patients and their families. It's imperative for our communities in rural areas of our country. And so, can you bring your whole self to work as a leader? It's that whole, I can't be myself because I'm the boss. And it's just simply not true. And I'll never forget the very first time that I really let my guard down and set, instead of, oh, I have to go answer emails, or I have to go get this project done, or I have to go, 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 that I just simply sat down in our staff lounge and had a cup of coffee with 2 of my nurses. And we talked about golf and how important it was for them to see me as a human being who cares enough about them to share some of my personality, the just Jane, right? But also has the same struggles they have,
Mm-hmm.
and puts my
Mm-hmm.
pants on in the very same way. So, I think leaders struggle with it because they're like, well, gosh, I don't want to be completely transparent. Like, they don't want to know my business, or they don't want, I think you have to find this great blend. But, as one of my key leadership tactics was to create opportunities for people to come and allow me to cook for them. And I love to tell the story about inviting people to my home, and we were going to learn something together, but we were also going to spend time together. And I'm not a great housekeeper. I don't have an expensive home, but the worst thing that ever happened was one of my ICU nurses said, these lampshades look like they belong in a whorehouse. Could I have been hurt by that? I'm like, sure. Could I have said, oh, that's it, I'm never going to invite anyone to my home again? Of course I could have done that. But all the way from having a cup of coffee in a staff lounge and revealing a struggle you're having to inviting people into your home, that's like a big divide. But people
Mm-hmm.
need to see you as a person.
Yes.
It's really, really important. And it's part of that vulnerability, but it's also part of that. Now, your role modeling, how will we create a work environment where best friendships can happen?
Mm-hmm.
How will we do that? Because 63% of American women say they'd never leave their job if they had a best friend there. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
find them a best friend. You have to create a work environment where best friendships can happen. And you can role model it by just, this is how I am. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Leadership is a big job. I mean, when you think about like all of these nuances, right? I mean, like we know it's a big job. It's an important and big job, but you start throwing down this idea of owning up to our mistakes and apologizing and spending time, inviting people into your home and building relationships and mending relationships and working on being a team
and
member.
most leaders are just like, hey, I'm trying to get my budget out, man.
The tasks of management, right? Yeah. To do it well, it's and you have to do it well. These are definitely the hacks. So,
but gosh, Sue, you've known me a long time.
Very long
You
time.
know that I did not have these down when we first met each other. Heck no. It takes years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point, because some of what we've been attempting to do through our work with Capstone is to, instead of waiting for some of these things to organically evolve, which can be a slow process, slower for some, but not just that, but to evolve in an entire group at the same time instead of just onesie twosie, is really determining how to, one, recognize what these are, and then figure out ways to be intentional. Like relationships, like being a team, like having a band, like if somebody would, like you through this podcast sharing it, if you're equipped and inspired to do that, and you just weren't left to your own accord to figure these things out, you can get there faster. And
oh yes,
there's a lot of benefit, not just for your organization, your department. It's for you personally as a leader. For you, it's like, don't you feel better leading in these ways, knowing these hacks than before, like the before and after?
Yes. Well, and it makes you more strategic, more visionary, more rested, more energy. All these things that we see leaders really struggling with, being caught in the whirlwind. No, get out of it. Get out of it. Handle problems in this way, So,
Yes.
sure.
Well, we still have time for another one. So we are going to get to 5. We thought we could get to 5 in this time. So let's do it.
Don't take the monkey.
Oh, you did pick some good ones here. Yes. What does that mean, Jane? Come on, tell them what it means.
Not comparing anyone's employee to a group of chimpanzees, but what Harvard Business Review teaches us in their great book, Getting the Right Work Done, is that leaders, frontline leaders, especially people who lead other people, have employees who are holding live chimpanzees, walk into their office 36 times a day. And when they bring problems like so-and-so didn't do the dishes on the night shift, so-and-so didn't stock the rooms, Dr. So-and-so yelled at me again, or whatever, what leaders do, especially new leaders, because they see their personal worth in solving problems for their team. And they might think that's what leadership actually is, and it is not. They take the monkey, right? They take the live chimpanzee. And what I like to tell leaders is, you cannot even own stock in bananas to have enough bananas in your office, much less the housekeepers are going to hate you with all the feces rubbed all over your wall from 36 chimpanzees. Don't take the monkey. Instead, develop your leadership in turning those situations around and teaching people how to communicate with each other at the lowest possible level, right? And role modeling that for them. So, you very gently hand the live chimpanzee back and say, what did you do in that situation? Well, I didn't do anything because I'm telling you, right? And I learned a long time ago to ask people, are you just venting to me right now? So, because you need a listening board, or do you need my help in solving this? Because I have great faith in you that you can solve it, but I'm glad to listen, So don't take the monkey.
Yes.
That's your tombstone, remember?
Yes, it is. Yes, yes. Solve problems at the lowest possible level with the least amount of bureaucracy, drama, and paperwork. And also have the right people solve it at the lowest
Right.
possible level. Like for sure, it's like own it yourself. And that really speaks to empowerment and engagement and trust and allowing people to fail and make mistakes because they might screw it up when you hand it back to
Right.
them. They might, screw it up, but you have to allow that to happen so they learn as well.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's what good
I
leaders
think I
do, right, Jane?
Oh, for sure. And I think I learned the most powerful leadership words were, I know you got this. I have every faith that you can handle this.
Yeah.
Because maybe
Yeah.
no one's ever heard that their whole life.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've heard it way too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
they just need to hear that from you. You can do this. I know you can.
Versus,
You know,
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it.
that's, that's not leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not really caring either. I
No.
mean, if we really cared about them, we would care enough to invest in saying to them, I trust that you can handle this. I'll help you in the ways that I can, support you,
Right.
encourage you, pick you back up if you fall down. But yeah, that's caring. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Care
Yeah.
about your
Yeah.
personal growth.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I was thinking about, obviously this is a podcast titled Culture Change RX. And so I'm wondering, these 5 leadership life hacks, how we can tie a bow around them or actually weave a thread through them that's called
Mhm.
culture, right? Like the impact on culture. We know that leadership obviously is an important thing for culture. It's hard to have a great culture when leadership is not effective and performing. But what do you think about this connection of leadership and the tactics that you've talked about, the hacks that you've talked about, and the impact of these on culture?
I think it's getting leaders, to realize their importance in the organization more than a placeholder with an office and a business card because somebody's got to run it. That actually they're affecting lives and affecting families
Mm-hmm.
and have a really giant role in their communities. And, Joan Reardon said to me that the most impactful thing, she was our surgery leader when I became the ED leader. And she said, this is a really great gig. And it's way more than you just being really a great ER nurse and being very clinically astute and being able, people like you. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to impact the health of your community. And so to
Mm-hmm.
do that, you need to be your best person. You need to be your best
Mm-hmm.
every day. And if you can't
Mm-hmm.
be, you got to own up to it, right? So I think that's a really big deal for culture. That is culture. That's the invisible
Mm.
infrastructure that
It's the
culture
human side,
is.
isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is to work
Mm-hmm.
on these things are how you work on yourself as a person and being humble and
Mm-hmm.
expressing yourself and finding a way to develop those great relationships is that unspoken part of leadership that really shouldn't be unspoken.
Well, Jane, I knew this would be a great episode with you sharing some of these top leadership life hacks. And I appreciate not just what you've brought to our company, but what you've brought to other organizations, what you've brought to individual leaders, and what you've brought to my life as a friend, a co founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. And I wish you the very best in your retirement, and your legacy will live on in the organizations and the leaders you've helped to transform by equipping and inspiring them for positive change. And I know that your legacy will live on as we continue the work here at Capstone Leadership Solutions in the years to come. So God bless you in your retirement, and thank you again for your time today.
All right. Thank you. All right, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.